whole Four Noble Truths that we have been discussing, exploring in this group?
I did not try to look yet, but I will. I intend to.
No problem. So then maybe a quick 1 minute or 2 minute recap of what we discussed so that we can take it from there. You can always, in fact, I'm planning to put this as many, not as many. I'm planning to put our session recordings on a private YouTube list, which means any of us, whether we are still with Siemens or outside Siemens, we would be able to access it. But then I'm not going to make it public because given that some of us may not like it to be public, so we can access it in a private mode amongst our groups and use that to reflect from time to time. Okay, so
if everyone is okay, it's okay to put it in public if everyone is okay. Just to see if somebody comments and somebody gets added. Let's also see if we can get anything like that. Only if everyone is okay.
Sure. Then I'll just check with people on the WhatsApp.
Yeah.
See if anyone has objection for making it a public list.
Yes.
Otherwise, my default mode was to go with private. That way, nobody has any objection. At least that way we can make sure all these sessions that we have recorded so far are available.
Sure.
Okay, so I've already have more or less collected as much sessions that I can gather. There are a few missing, but I think the list is pretty much ready. I will share.
Great.
Pati also joined. Pati, good morning.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Manju.
Hi, Pati. Good morning.
Hi, Pati.
Hi.
Good. So then I'll just add up a little bit more. In the last couple of sessions, we discussed about the Four Noble Truths, the way Buddha summarized his teaching in terms of how any one of us can get out of suffering. So starting with first Noble Truth being what is suffering and its description. Second Noble Truth being that there is a cause for suffering and what all typically are the causes for suffering. And third being there is a cessation or a stopping of suffering that anyone can achieve, which is typically called in multiple religions or religious beliefs as either moksha, nirvana, nibbana, liberation, whatever we want to use the term as. Okay? And the fourth noble truth being the path to achieving this nibbana or nirvana, as Buddha calls, and which is nothing but the eightfold path. So, and we spent some time discussing through these first three noble truths, trying to understand based on our own experiences, because as we always have this common understanding that none of us are gurus, all of us are practitioners. And based on our practice, we discuss, share, and enhance the collective knowledge and experience for each one of us. And we also talked about some practical meditation-based exercises to experience this ourselves. And then we also started discussing a little bit about these first two or three eightfold path, the aspects of this eight folds, 2, 3 folds, whatever are there in our previous call. So now that is where we stand. And today we should be going deeper into talking about each of these paths or the eight folds one by one. At least that is the intent. So I thought for benefiting here, we can use this Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the actual text of what Buddha taught on this as is, just Pali language, the original language, and its translation in English with no additional commentary whatsoever. So we keep that as a reference point as we continue with the discussion. That's primarily the summary of where we are now and what we will look to do. But before we go forward, anyone would like to add anything further before I project?
No, Manju.
All right. Then I will share my screen. By the way, just one quick flash of this picture, which I will share later in the WhatsApp group also. This is an attempt that I had made a few years back to compare Buddha's teachings against Patanjali Yoga Sutras, especially the Ashtanga Yoga and the 10 Commandments, as stated by Moses. And I'm sure if you take a closer look, you will see a lot of parallelisms, which is obvious to understand. This is my beautiful handwriting. If you can't read, when you try offline, we can always talk more. But otherwise, the intent of our today's conversation is to go to this Satipatthana Sutta and focus on the Eightfold Path. So I will share this few pages with you folks also on the WhatsApp group later for you to take a look at. But at least I will use this for us to see on the screen and we discuss. Okay?
Perfect.
Yeah. So you guys can see this pages, right? Here I'm zooming in a bit.
Yes.
To help us. Okay. Okay. So this first page. Yeah, this first page has a little bit of this third truth, the cessation of suffering, the way Buddha describes it. But let's skip that. But here at the bottom starts the path, or the truth of the path, or expression of the truth of the path, as it is called, right? So here, these are on the left side. You will see on the screen the Pali language that Buddha had used to discuss this or describe this, and on the right side you will see its direct English translation. So he starts something like this. And what monks is the noble truth of the path leading to the cessation of suffering? It is this, the noble eightfold path. Namely, he lists out these 8 items in this path: right understanding, right thought, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right awareness, and right concentration. So he lists these 8 paths first. On the left side, you will see the words like the Sammaditthi onwards. Sammaditthi, Samma Sankappo, Samma Vacha, Samma Kammanto, Samma Jivo, Samma Vayamo, Samma Sati, and Samma Samadhi. Having said this, then in the next page, here he starts explaining one by one each of these words. You will see on the left side, he says Katamacha Bhikkhave Samadhithi. He starts something like that, and then starts his experience or his views to understand each of this. So on the right side is the English. So let's look at this primarily. So he says, and what monks is right understanding? It is this: the knowledge of suffering, the knowledge of the arising of suffering, knowledge of the cessation of suffering, the knowledge of the path leading to the cessation of suffering. In summary, the 4 noble truths. That's what he says is called right understanding. Fair enough. So let me pause. So this is what Buddha says as right understanding. Anything that we need to discuss here further on this?
I mean, I think, yeah, it's clear.
Okay.
And clear, and since it's a direct words from Buddha,
yeah,
it's good actually. I mean, it's in the sense there is no conflict or confusion there.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay. So, and I hope since all of us, except Ankit, were already part of our previous conversations, we have spent enough time to talk about these 3 items in the path. So let's look at then the next one, which is, and what monks is right thought. So here,
but just in case there is noise here, you can mute me. Okay, if it is disturbing you. Yeah, anyone can mute me in case you feel that.
No issues. No issues. I
Okay,
think it's fine. No issues.
Okay.
Manju,
We
may
heard a
I
couple of
ask?
things.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead, Ankit.
I was asking, in the previous discussions, have we discussed this as in suffering that we are talking about? Is this, does it have a state? For example, is it good or bad or something? Why should we so concerned? Why should we be so concerned about suffering?
Yeah.
We
We have
have.
discussed.
Okay.
We have
I'll
discussed
listen.
each of them. So what is suffering? We have discussed in depth, taking some examples based on our own experiences. And we also discussed what causes arising of this suffering in terms of craving or in terms of aversion that we go through in life. So in terms of suffering, basically leading from the imperfections that we have discussed in depth. And then arising of suffering due to cravings and aversions, we have discussed again in depth. And then what is the way to cease the suffering? That is nirvana or moksha, liberation. That also we have discussed there. That is when we are now in the point of this path that we need to practice, leading to this cessation of suffering. So if you go through the recording, you will see we have spent enough debates with multiple people chipping in, talking through our experiences here.
Thank you.
Okay. So then the second point or the second item or the fold in the path is this: what marks is right thought. Thoughts of renunciation, thoughts that are free from aversion and thoughts that are free from violence. This monks is called right thought. So if you see here, take a moment to reflect on this. Buddha is addressing the gathering of monks, but I also read somewhere else that was his standard practice. At least that is what is called out. Monks here could mean even the householders who were participating in that discourse when he was giving. Or at least is essentially whoever is looking to practice end of suffering. He generally used to call them as bhikkhus, is what my understanding is. So let's not get too much worried about this word bhikkhu, or monk here. Let's focus on rest of the content. So here, in terms of right thought, he explicitly calls out thoughts of renunciation, thoughts that are free from aversion, and thoughts that are free from violence. This he calls as right thought. Pause. So Ravi would like to comment, or anyone else would like to comment on this?
It's very clear, at least. I mean, it's a simple and very clear statement, I felt.
Right. Yeah.
And
I have one
somewhere,
question, Manju. I have one question here. When we say thoughts are free from violence, it is that we should not think of violence, or our thoughts should not have anywhere related to violence, or somewhere in nearby, next to my building, some violence is happening. Even I should not even think of that, or even I should not, aware of it.
It need not be violence. It is something bad for others, or maybe anything that is not anything that can harm, or right? More in that sense. Not just violence. It could be in any other form.
Yeah. Yeah, I too feel that way. Actually, I agree with what Pati said in the sense. So we also discussed about this unwholesome thoughts versus wholesome thoughts, right? So here, I think this violence is if we intentionally thinking of harming, causing harm to somebody or something. Such thoughts, when they arise, we should know probably how not to proceed with the flow of those thoughts, how to come out of such thoughts. I feel, and at least that's my way of currently reacting to it.
Okay,
And that is where I think that is free from
what
aversion.
what I'm confused is, see, intentionally I will have in my thoughts some whatever you said, that harming or violence, and that I can reduce for sure. And the second one is, there is something already happening in my society, or in my surrounding, or in my home itself, for example. So this one also, I should, as if nothing is happening, should I be, my thinking goes, or I should at least aware them and do something for that.
Probably you are jumping one step forward there, Samba. You are
Okay.
going into that action mode here.
Yeah.
Probably, right? So he will come to that. So
Yeah,
there is
sure.
this right speech, right action, right
Okay.
livelihood, which will follow now, which will
Okay.
probably come to your point. At least here, if you can center yourself,
Yeah.
or if we can center ourselves on ourself first,
Yeah.
whatever we call as ourself here,
Okay.
right? So
Got
our
it.
thoughts. if we can make sure our thoughts are free from violence, then we are following this fold in the path.
Got it. Thanks, Manju. Ankit, you are trying to say something.
Right. I was about to ask if we have defined renunciation before. I mean, is it renunciation from worldly affairs or renunciation of in any particular thing? Have we discussed this before?
Yeah, in fact, to some extent, but when I have gone through some of the other discourses of Buddha, right, this renunciation primarily, at least my understanding is using this in the context of renunciation from craving. So craving of any kind. So it could be craving with respect to material stuff, or it could be craving with respect to own self. So it could even include that. If you even include, this includes even craving to renunciate everything from life. So in fact, there is a classic example of one of Buddha's disciple called Ananda, um, who, after being with Buddha for nearly 45 to 50 years, still wouldn't achieve that nirvana state. And in Buddhism, such people who achieve that through Buddha's teaching are called as arahants. And he wouldn't have achieved that. In spite of being Buddha's personal assistant and having practiced his teaching, he wouldn't have achieved it. And there will be a deadline for him to either achieve it or not be part of a big gathering which was looking to document Buddha's teaching. So there, he goes through this at least period trying to see, I am still not achieving this state of Arant, I'm still not achieving this state of Arant, and that actually acts as an obstacle for him to achieve that state. So that experience is documented in the in these Buddhist scriptures. So based on that, my current thinking or current understanding is this thoughts of renunciation is trying to not bring that I-ness into anything that we experience in life. At least that is the way I am looking at this thoughts of renunciation here. Ravi, would you like to add anything further there?
Nothing from my side, but what you said is valid. Basically, whatever hinders the progress, okay, if thought is thought is away from that, that is the right thought, is what I understood. See, I don't think renunciation here means you leave everything and go somewhere. At least that much I am clear. When I look at the other places where we saw things, other discourses, all those things, nowhere he says leave say family, leave job, and something like that. Rather, he says leave aversion and craving. That's what he says. Wherever you are, if aversion is not there, then it should be fine. Like what Samba said, if something is happening around and we don't want it to happen, that's aversion. That aversion should not be there. That's all.
A nice way to look at it. I always looked at renunciation a very different way. New perspective. Thank you for sharing, both of you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you can also share your way, whatever you feel.
Thanks.
Yeah, you want to share what it is? What is your idea of renunciation?
Uh, uh, I always thought like renunciation was, moving away from worldly affairs, not have an opinion or a thought about anything, right? If something's happening for good, bad, doesn't matter. It is happening, and don't be affected by that. If it affects you physically, it affects you, but uh, it should not affect your mind. And then, so basically, what I took away from what you both of you said, aversion and craving, if we are free of that, that's equivalent to not having any attachment to whatever is happening around. It's as good as you know leaving the worldly affairs,
Yeah,
being
yeah,
separated, but physically being in, but being separated.
yeah, yeah.
So then shall we go to the next one? So which is right speech. So here, as you can see, Buddha says, what is right speech? Abstaining from lying, abstaining from slander and backbiting, abstaining from harsh words, and abstaining from frivolous talk. This, monks, is called right speech. So, so simple and so straight. Yeah, right. So, whatever speech we use, whatever words we use, as long as it is not a lie, as long as it is not backbiting somebody or something, and the harsh words, where at least you intentionally don't use harsh words to hurt somebody, and you don't get into all this gossip or useless talks. So in other words, he is saying, I think at least the way I understand this is, you don't need to be a chatterbox. So you can use your words sparingly and use those for the right reasons. That seems to be the way to practice this right speech. So pause. Anyone would like to add your interpretation based on what you see here? Any comments, thoughts?
Nothing from my side, Manju. It's a very simple and clear.
Yeah. So Samba, Pati, Vijay, anyone else in the call?
Say, to understand this, reflect more internally before speaking is what it is. Indirectly it is saying, because if you want to see that you don't want to hurt somebody, you have to think twice before you say something, because how the other person will receive it and whether you want to convey the meaning correctly also. So it's actually it's a good thing that you think twice, thrice before you talk, so that it is received as it is told by you and what it is supposed to be received by them. So that is actually lot of internal adjustments in the brain will take place by that. It calls for that is what I'm thinking. So you refine yourself before you speak. So don't waste your energy by being a chatterbox. I think that is how I'm connecting internally.
Yeah, I think here again, maybe I mistook. Generally, we say chatterbox for somebody who keeps blabbering something. Okay, it could be good also, but something who keeps blabbering. Yeah. So more than chatterbox, it is the intention of the speech, right? So that is more to be moderated. So speech is two things. One is maybe hurtful. Other one is maybe sometimes we speak as a response. Need not be something originating by ourselves. Even that need to be moderated and delivered, right? So that's what it says.
See, again, one thing what I feel is we are uh, we are putting a verb, not verb actually, subject there everywhere,
Mhm.
and
Okay.
also we are coming to conclusions of action.
Okay.
Okay. What somehow what I am keeping is what is right speech here. If you look at is there anywhere speaker is not brought here. See, the moment we are trying to get into the action saying that we will do this or that,
Mhm.
I think somewhere we will again that fall back into the ego trap.
Okay.
So what
And we
I'm
will
seeing
lose
is
the essence of the teaching is what you're okay. That's what you're
not that I'm
got it.
losing the essence of teaching, I'm connecting it to some other place also. See, I'm
Okay.
connecting it to, see, if you look at this as just alone, if you look at this individually, this whatever Manju is saying now or whatever is we are seeing there, then immediately our brain goes into action of, okay, I will do this, I will not speak this, or I will speak this. So we
Mhm.
will start going to that loop. But if you look at other places where it arises and goes off, and then all those things, if we can leave it to a level of what is right thought, whether I will think like that or whether I really think, I think we will pause it for some time for a understanding of this is what I believe.
Got it.
Yeah, maybe we are trying to look at the application of this already. Yeah. So when we say,
And that's where again the moment we look at the application, then the ego comes there, actually saying that I exist, I'm going to apply it. I'm not telling it should not be applied, or if it is the theory or something like that. But if you look at the wording there, they have just left it as what is right thought. Means there's a thought which has a content which is right or which is not which is unwholesome. They're just distinguishing that. So we will understand it maybe further when we go to the other places. We may conclude on the action, or maybe in the right action, maybe we will hear that what it is.
Mhm.
Huh. Yeah, in fact, I think this thought of how ego comes into the picture of each of these folds is a constant reflection that we might have to go through as we practice all this, because ultimately we when we reach that state where we realize this all these fold paths should stop us getting entangled in the I-ness. Um, that is when the real fruit comes in, but it's a gradual process. So this is where
Yeah,
I think you'll have to keep reflecting. I mean, I think as Vijay said, I too agree. We might have to do a little bit of reflection before, but I feel we might have to do a little bit of reflection afterwards also. That is, many times in the life's flow, right? The events happen. That means in this speech mode, we will end up doing this. So the value comes in if we can take a little bit of time to reflect afterwards.
Yeah, sure.
yeah, it makes sense much. Yeah.
Okay. So then let's look at the next one, which is this right action. So here Buddha says, what is right action? Abstaining from killing, abstaining from taking what has not been given, and abstaining from sexual misconduct. So this monks is called right action. So he calls out three things here explicitly. Abstaining from killing, abstaining from taking what has not been given, and abstaining from sexual misconduct. So let me pause here. Anything that doesn't seem clear here? Because if you look at Buddha's discourse, they are so analytical and put in so simply. They hardly need additional interpretations at many places. Some places it may need, but many places they're quite very clear. He was one of those guys who understood his audience quite nicely to put his thoughts or views should become pretty clear here. Let me pause. Right action, thoughts, comments.
So when we say abstaining from taking what has not been given, um, it's like abstaining from everything, or is it like don't take what is somebody else's, or don't force take something? How do you read it? Because I'm not able to put substance around this idea.
yeah. For me also, at least the examples given here, they are extreme examples, right? Okay. I mean, there are actions which could be little more lesser in severity, but can still hurt somebody. Yeah. So and that is where I'm trying to see why such extreme actions are given. There are yeah. So maybe I hope you understood.
Yeah. I will share some of my struggles here, but I completely understand what you're saying, Pati. Uh, but Ravi or anyone else would like to comment here, your version of it.
Yeah.
I
So
cannot.
Ankit, to relate to what you said, see, just let's go back to our childhood. We have three siblings, and when mother is serving puris, so you don't look at your plate. You try to look at how much your siblings are getting, and you aspire for it. That you want one more additional thing. Maybe this, and just interpreting it in a subtle way. So here again, The thought that you are comparing yourself to siblings is also a sin. First, look at your plate. Whatever is given, eat. That is what they are trying to say. I'm just, it's a rude way of telling it. Maybe, so I'm linking both to, so sometimes you also react and seize one from the other plate also, right? So then that is a wrong thought, wrong action, and, wrong speech also.
Good point.
So in a way, don't ask for more. Uh, be satisfied
Asking
with
for
what
more
you
is
get.
fine. Asking for
Okay.
more is fine. Don't, what do you call, if it is
Steal,
not
don't
yours,
steal.
don't steal or don't aspire to grab somebody else's portion.
Okay.
That thought process
But but
itself and
but then
going and
again,
grabbing, both are not good. Yeah, go ahead, please.
I understand what you're trying to convey, but then I am now more confused. So
Sorry.
if there is a tree in a common area and it is bearing fruits, right? So as long as the population around is low and everybody gets what they want, when they go around the tree, they pluck a fruit. It's good. The moment the demand is more and the supply is less, right?
Yeah.
So if I pluck a fruit and come back home, and then somebody else comes in, I am depriving him of the fruit.
Correct.
I've taken what could have been theirs. So how do I relate this particular instance?
I'm
Was I
also
able to
curious.
communicate? I
Yeah.
am not sure.
I
See,
think you put it aptly, but I'm still trying to search for an answer. Go ahead, Manju. You were saying something.
yeah. So at my way of thinking about this and trying to practice, I will share with you folks. Um, See, I interpreted this aspect of abstaining from taking what has not been given as um, what Patanjali in Ashtanga Yoga called as um, this aparigraha or non-hoarding or non-possessiveness. And in our previous conversations, also we spoke in multiple ways, right? Nature gives whatever is required for us to sustain life. And this is extending that Buddha, at least when he was living, at least when people joined his sangha as monks, they used to be given some 2 3 robes and couple of additional materials and some medicine if they need. That's about it. There was nothing else of their possession at all. And uh, even for their living, for food, they used to go beg and take that food. So essentially, they were not looking at accumulating any things in life. And that way, they lived a life of minimalism and completely survived on the flow of nature, the way it used to work, and sustained life purely simply based on that. So my way of looking at this has been in our life, if we are looking to accumulate things, be it materialistic or be it even mentalist, it's unnecessary. So we should probably take only what is absolutely required, and that's what I feel he meant here. But again, these all interpretations based on the additional commentaries from other people and my own way of looking at this. Let me pause here. Uh, any of you would like to add further? Or did I confuse you folks even more?
No, what I understand is probably again some of this is also experiential. Until unless you start practicing, it could be a stepwise process. The moment
Correct.
you think you've understood and you practice that, that point you might have another thought that, oh, there's more to it, and then
Correct.
probably this continues.
Correct. Correct, absolutely. And this at least three elements here in terms of right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These three folds are called as the foundation of morality in life, the way to live life: speech, action, and livelihood. Three items. So this is where I also feel this right action, I mean, all these three will continue to evolve based on the way we keep understanding the morality in our life. And in fact, a personal experience to share, this abstaining from killing, this troubled me quite a bit. Because as a householder, for example, if there is a cockroach in our home, what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to let it live peacefully in our home and multiply? Or even these ants, if I kill them, am I causing this? Am I violating this right action? Is something that troubled me quite a bit. So in fact, I ended up asking this question to one of my teachers in the previous this Vipassana course that I did. I asked this question to the teacher that if I am killing these ants or cockroaches in my household, because otherwise they cause trouble to the way we would like to live life. Am I violating this principle? Isn't it unwholesome? So poor guy, he was also troubled. But he said, sometimes you can't avoid it. So you might have to do it is the way he gave the answer, but I don't know whether that is the right way of looking at it or wrong way of looking at it. Okay. So
no, once again, I no, once again, so Ravi, Manju, so you can, when all these things came up, okay, uh, maybe I'm just thinking, is it also the reflection of the the time in the universe at this point of time, right? When Buddha was there. So is it also reflective of a little bit more that, okay, wherein survival was becoming maybe so necessary that, okay, so kill each other, maybe I'm just looking, because all other things look, I mean, universal, more like universal truth, right? Okay, whatever your thoughts should be clean, your speech should be clean or right. Maybe livelihood is also quite applicable. Only in the actions, at least, or maybe I'm still looking at this way. Uh, Maybe at this point of time, it was it more prevalent uh, 2,500 years ago.
yeah, I think that's a good point. I think the society and the events happening also would have had influence on Buddha to call out
Okay.
few things explicitly,
Yeah,
for sure.
maybe it's the society itself has evolved over last 2,000 years. Maybe some
Right,
of these things are more. I mean, the whole thought of democracy and other things,
right.
as against feudalism, where one strong person, of course, now feudalism has appeared, reappeared as in multiple ways. That's all. So many times I feel. So
Right. Right. I think that's a good point. Pati, I think I agree to that view. And in fact, if you see here in this right action, again, Buddha, while he's saying abstain from killing and abstain from taking whatever has not been given to you, he also says abstain from sexual misconduct. He's not saying sexual act. He's not saying abstain from sexual act. He's saying abstain from sexual misconduct. So I think if you probably see his primary premise is to promote the universal truths, universal laws as much as possible, while also utilizing some of the prevailing societal um, behaviors or attitudes into the mix, I feel, as you said.
So one thing was troubling me, but I was not speaking about it. But for sexual misconduct, or even the sexual act is probably an act of violence, or it can be looked as something that we crave for, right? So, uh, any thoughts around that?
No, we should not do so violently.
No.
On the lighter side, that it becomes, it appears so like violent.
Or
Okay.
maybe we should do with the sole intention of reproduction and nothing else. That's the
No,
purpose. That's how we should look at sexual act. Maybe is that what
Yeah,
you mean?
no, it could be pleasure and reproduction could be the primary objectives. Whereas if it is crossing the boundary and I think looking what is not yours, and I mean maybe there are boundaries, right? So maybe I'm just more thinking, or
see,
maybe
this is,
this misconduct is also seen in colleges, or maybe suddenly we see that okay, somebody misconducted with students, and maybe so some of these things are supposed to be what it been in my interpretation. Yeah.
see, this
Otherwise,
is exactly where, Pati, your point comes into picture.
yeah.
See, maybe many years back, misconduct means having sex without marriage. Maybe, okay,
Mm,
1,000 years back.
yeah.
Now, as long as both are in agreement
Yeah.
and both are adults,
Yeah.
I think that should be okay. Okay, so this
Yeah.
is where the timeliness of the words come into picture. Our interpretation comes into picture. But see, we many times we ourselves know uh, what is right or wrong, because see, for example, I'm going. Let me take an example of, say, jumping a signal, just as an example. So if our society or where we are living in is that is treated as a normal thing, we aram do it, right, without any thought and whatever feeling. But same thing, if you want to say go and steal something, we may get high heartbeat or those kind of thing, which clearly says uh, what we feel is right, and we should stick to that itself. That should be good enough, is what I feel, because there
Mhm.
is no absolute right or wrong. We cannot say, okay, these five actions are right, these five actions are wrong. I don't know whether we can arrive at it or not. We, for example, if I'm want to kill someone, and if I go through that pain of killing, right? For example, I'm scared, I'm angry, a lot of things. That itself shows there's something wrong in it. Okay, but if a mosquito is sitting on my thigh and biting, and I just tap it, it will die. I forget it immediately, right? It just, it's such a normal, natural thing. I think that should be okay, is what I feel.
Correct. I think you are pointing back to that right thought, Ravi, the first fold.
Exactly. Right thought. See, if you are doing an action with a right thought, without craving or aversion, and also we should differentiate between survival thing and non-survival things. Okay. For example, if I'm not getting food and I'm about to die, I think it's better to steal and survive. Okay. But I'm already stinking rich and trying to grab 2 feet of my neighbor's site. That is something which we should look at. So that's where the difference is. So we should not worry too much about the. I mean, we can't go into too much details. For example, is cheetah killing deer is good or not? I don't think we will get answer for that.
Correct.
Very well said.
Right. So that is when this next fold also comes into play, right livelihood. So here Buddha has again a very simple way of stating it, which may need more
Before
interpretation.
before before I forget, Manju, sorry to interrupt you. See, even Buddhist monasteries in places like Sri Lanka, they eat and serve non-veg.
Correct.
Okay, so even I ended up becoming a non-vegetarian in Buddhist monastery. while I'm a pure vegetarian outside. So it's such a, what do you say, irony. So, but there it's okay, it's allowed, uh, because for their say geographic location and their upbringing, their culture, they treat that as non-violent. I mean, they don't treat that as violence. They treat that as an existence or survival thing. So there is no exact line there.
Right. Correct. Correct. Anyone else would like to add any further comment, thoughts before we go to the right livelihood to what Ravi
Only
just
one
now
point.
shared?
Only one point about, see, misconduct is for aspiring for others things that is not ours. Conduct is still fine because it is yours. You can do what you want. I think that was the differentiation he
No,
was trying to do.
No, I still
are you
go with
sorry,
Ravi's definition. When it is mutually welcome, okay, so then it is
Okay.
not a misconduct, right?
Okay. Okay. But then see, if you're married and still do a mutual with somebody else, that is still wrong,
Okay,
right?
so that is in the society that is considered as wrong, right? Not
Ah,
right.
yeah, yeah. That's what. So you again your thought, right? It's not your right thought. When you're committed to one person, you cannot go for a somebody else. Like that, I'm saying.
Okay.
see, that's
And while
exactly, see, that is where see, Osho brought a different
Belief,
okay,
values.
belief values. He said, see,
Yeah,
marrying someone and locking each other itself is not a right thing. Okay,
correct.
one has to live together for the sake of bringing up the kids. That's where marriage system came into picture. Otherwise, it was never there. Only thing is, in humans, bringing up kids is a big thing. Unlike animals, where it is for 2 3 months and then both are independent. It's not so. In our case, at least, even if you leave this higher education, all those shit, even to come to a level of surviving, it takes at least 10 years to communicate, to know what is right, wrong, all those things. So, since that's a long period, that's where two people got together and said, since I'm responsible for this as a male, I'm talking, I will
Mhm.
also be part of it, and to bind them, this law, this marriage system came. But again now with, for example, boarding school coming into picture, and all those different things coming into picture, that is one thing. Even otherwise, if somebody is taking care of that responsibility well, you don't have to bind the other person. But in our case, what has happened is, we it's like we are possessing the person like
Cult.
a
It
thing.
has become a cult.
Exactly, it's like a thing, right? See, I possess my car, it's in my name, because I purchased it, I earned for it, so nobody can touch it. But holding some human like that is actually it's a suffocation, and that's where all the problems are coming into picture. One should liberate from there is another thought. You be as long as you're in love, you as long as you are there, you love them. It's both ways. Be as long as you have love, and love as long as you are there. I think that is more, and all the things follows, like being loyal, all those things. See, if you look at the normal hormonal things, first time when you want to say, for the lack of word, put off someone, say dopamine kicks in, and when you are in love, oxytocin, what is it? Oxytocin, right? That's
Oxytocin.
oxytocin. Yeah, that's the, see, when somebody is in love with one person, that hormone comes where you automatically lose interest in other people. You want to stick to that. So these are all the play of chemicals, and that's actually right than somebody saying that, okay, you met someone for 2 hours and we all locked you, and now you are not going to look at anyone else. uh, that's, I think, his suffocation, and that's what is causing all this madness. It's not only that you own the person, then you own the property of the other person, then all the, you control the other person. You are not supposed to go somewhere. You are not going to leave me and do something. You have to come home by this time. If you look at it, it's like we are putting each other in jail. But if somebody is genuinely loving, that happens automatically. and that feeling and hormone should drive things rather than rules.
Perfect. Yeah.
So with those understanding, then let's look at this livelihood, because that way we can also um, stop logically for today's session, because rest of this effort, awareness and concentration comes more in terms of the mind practices. Until at least this right livelihood, it is more of body, that is speech, action and livelihood, especially livelihood, this morality ground. Fair enough?
Yeah.
So from Buddha's discourse, what is right livelihood? It is a noble disciple having given up wrong ways of livelihood earns his livelihood by right means. This is called right livelihood. That's all he says here in this discourse.
Come again. Somehow I was preoccupied with some thought. Come again.
So he says, what is right livelihood?
Hmm.
A noble disciple having given up wrong ways of livelihood earns his livelihood by right means.
Okay.
That's it. That's all he says. Now, this one probably will have a heavy influence of the societal aspect that Pati shared earlier, I think.
Yeah.
And whatever we discussed already. Whatever is considered as wrong ways, which probably will trigger that thoughts of craving or aversion, probably earning livelihood that way is incorrect, is the way I would interpret this. And as long as this right means, which is not causing suffering to others by killing them or by forcibly taking something from them or engaging in misconducts, I feel that is the right means of livelihood. So basically, I think this livelihood, the way I interpret or I understand is by applying the previous few things that Buddha shared here, we get a view of an approach to live. So that's at least my understanding. So anyone would like to add further thoughts here?
Yeah, I think I agree with you, Manju. I agree with you. Whatever, with the right thought, with the right speech, with the right actions, and whatever other right things, right understanding, whatever you earn, I think that is right livelihood.
Right.
One question. If the thoughts are right, so let's say I invest and trade in stock market. It is seen as a way to gamble, right? Because you're speculating for the future. Either I'm speculating for the next 15 minutes or I'm speculating for the next 15 years. So my thought is right that I'll earn uh, uh, because I think this is going right. I'm not entering into the trade because I think I want to hold money. My thought is right. My actions are right. I am doing it the right way. But then how do I know if it's the right livelihood? Because I'm not providing anything back to the society through that trade. I'm taking somebody else's money. It's just pure speculation and gambling.
So I have a view about this, Ankit. Uh, Fortunately, unfortunately, I have been going through this journey of stock investment for last nearly 15 years. So I too had some thoughts around what is the way to look at this. If you look at stock investment the way you described, right, as a gamble, and with an intention of I want to hold lot of money, and uh, it's okay if I put other people into trouble because of that, then probably it is not right thought and right livelihood. But on
Mm.
the contrary, the way I have looked at investment is more in terms of there is a business which is looking to build something of good for the society, and I am utilizing my money to promote their business.
Propel.
And when they are making more profit, it is causing lot of good in the society. So, for example, Siemens as an organization is engaged in, let's say, medical equipment development. And if I am investing my money in Siemens stock, I am enabling Siemens to build more of these medical equipments which serve the society by taking out the suffering for many people. So, and when they make profit, I also get money and I'm good with that. Is the way I look at when I look at investing in stocks. So that way it is no longer a gamble for me. It is pretty much the profession, the way I
And I
engage
can
in
do more
job.
with that, and I can do more of
Correct.
what I was doing.
Exactly. And that is pretty simple for me that way. And that is also another reason why when I look at, let's say, ITC as a business, their 60% of revenue comes from cigarettes, where 40% comes from other things, but 60% comes from cigarettes. So I consciously avoid putting my money in ITC irrespective of how much more profit they generate, because I feel their product is harming the society, causing more suffering to people.
See, okay.
So by smoking cigarette, I don't see any good that really happens. So therefore, I abstain from investing in such businesses. So when I treat my livelihood or the earnings through the stock market using this approach, I am using these right thoughts of as much as possible doing the right things and right actions as well. So I feel I'm okay to invest using these thoughts.
That's a wonderful point of view. Thank you for sharing. Very helpful.
So
Just to
anyone would like to
extend
add
that,
further?
see, yeah. So when you have a right thought, you are actually, I mean, I believe this, when you send a right thought, automatically in the nature, it will take to the good of it and it will actually vibe more. And you will again repay, or you will reap the benefit of that goodness in you, is what I believe. So nature is having that equalizing thing effect, is what I read in many books, and I believe it also.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What we call as that compassion.
Correct.
I think broadly that is what even Buddha used to do all his discourses or teachings. And if you're using as much of our actions based on that compassion base, I feel we would be leaving these four, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, these four folds quite harmoniously with the rest of nature. Let me pause. Any additional thoughts, comments by anyone?
See, my feeling is it's not just what is right for social things alone. I I started feeling nowadays we should be really selfish. Selfish, what I mean is truly selfish. Means suppose I'm earning, I'm working. Uh, that is also selfishness because I get some money out of it. Second thing is question whether you are happy earning that. Selfishness is not just getting money. Am I getting happiness? Am I getting good health? Am I getting am I peaceful? Am I sleeping well? Also matters to it, right? Suppose I'm working for I'm a doctor and I'm working for saving lives, and in that process I am losing my sleep, I am losing my peace, all those things. Is it correct? Okay. So it's not about just whether it's helping others or not. I always feel we should be truly selfish, uh, in the sense I want to be peaceful, I want to be happy, I want to be in harmony. Okay. And whatever takes me there, let us do it. And my feeling is if everyone works like this, obviously things will fall in place in the surrounding things also.
Yeah.
Uh,
That's solely
rather,
because there is positivity in the thoughts. Even though you're
positive.
selfish, there is positivity in the thoughts. Automatically, the positivity will spread across.
Exactly. Positivity. See, I want to work in harmony, not just work and deliver a product. I want to work in peace, and for me to do that, I have to take care of people around me naturally, whatever it takes. Okay, whatever it takes for that. We don't have to see. I have clearly, I mean, I've read other books where Buddha clearly says, don't sacrifice for others. Okay, you don't have to trouble yourself for the sake of others. you don't have to put your peace at stake for the sake of others. Is clearly told by him. See, if it is you feel it, right? I'm in a place, I'm working, there's a delivery happening, but my health is getting screwed. Should I continue, or should I say, yeah, I can't? I think those also to be considered rather than just looking at. I'm not telling we should not look at things like the other things, like whether invest in say tobacco or not. That is also important. Apart from that, see other aspects. For example, let's look at trading itself. If morning 9:15 I sit in front of my laptop till 3:15, and my heartbeat goes up and down based on the curve that goes, is it a right thing for me? Okay. Or if I do something where I peacefully invest and I don't even look at it, once in a year I get dividend and I suddenly see my assets growing, let it be. Okay. So it's your inner feeling also should be considered, uh, predominantly considered, to decide what is right or wrong, rather than just what is socially accepted.
Correct. Correct. Yeah, at the end of the day, you is the center of you, which needs to
Exactly.
go away.
Exactly. You is the center in the sense, see, finally we are all moving towards that peace, right?
Correct.
So anything that hampers that peace, we
Correct.
should move away from that thing. See, there is a difference between pleasure and peace. What is said is don't crave for pleasure, but nowhere it is said don't look for peace. So being happy, ending suffering, being peaceful is required and is fundamental. But what we believe gives us peace may be wrong. For example, if I think that I earn a lot of money and at the age of 60, I sit and relax. I personally feel that's not a right thought, because we may die at 59. Uh, so
Like
we
Anshujay.
need
Yeah.
so we need to see what makes me peace every day, every moment. Be with it. If something is not causing peace, forget about what is around. Better to exit from that place, irrespective whether developing a medical product or I'm a doctor who is doing operation. If it is not
Correct.
helping me, better to
Correct.
exit that place and look for my peace is very important.
Correct. Yeah. Absolutely good thoughts to keep in mind as we get into the weekend mode.
And celebrate.
and and probably keep continuing our experiment of that meditation, not doing something, not doing anything, for a few minutes every single day, folks. At the end of the day, that practice is the one that will take us closer to being in this wholesome state, what Ravi just now so nicely described. Okay, so on that note, probably we will stop today. Already a few minutes from 7:30, I mean, over 7:30. Then when we come back next time, we can cover the remaining 4 folds of this path. So I will share both these things that